You know that feeling when you get off a call and you're like, that was a really good conversation? Because they were open, they were sharing what's going on, and they even said something like, well, this is exactly what I've been struggling with. And you really think that this call is going to move ahead, that they are going to purchase from you. But then afterwards, nothing. Right at the end, they tell you something like, I need to think about it. I'll come back to you. Or I'll need to check in with my spouse. So you lose the sale, but you really don't know what went wrong. The same exact thing happened with my client a few weeks ago. And this is what she said to me. She said, I don't understand. All these calls, they feel so good. I reach out to them afterwards, and then they don't want to respond back. So we sat down and we looked at her calls. And nothing actually seemed wrong because there was really good rapport. She wasn't pushy at all. She was super confident throughout the whole time, super confident even when she mentioned her price. In fact, most people would listen to that call and they would say, well, that was a good conversation. But that was exactly the problem. Because a sales conversation is a buying conversation, it's a decision making conversation. So let me show you exactly what's going wrong. Because usually, if your sales calls are going well, but people are not buying, then that's happening because of three specific reasons. The first one, you are moving past the real problem too quickly. Well, there's always a moment in the call where people will say something important. They might say something like, I've been trying to do this, but I can't seem to do it. Or they'll say something like, I feel like I'm doing everything myself, but I can't switch off. And that's that moment. That's that real problem under the surface problem. But most service providers just rush past this. They acknowledge this and then they move on. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I got you. Because in their head, they're thinking that they've understood the problem. But your prospect hasn't understood that. So now you have shifted the call from bringing the real problem to surface to explaining the solution. But your prospective buyer hasn't understood. They haven't understood what actually is their real problem. They haven't understood why it's not working. And they haven't understood what it is costing them by not solving the problem right now. So they might not do what you are saying, but nothing has really clicked for them to invest in change. They're not even fully ready to be shopping yet. They're just looking around at this stage. And that brings me to point two. You start explaining instead of leading. This is the second shift that I see. So once you move into your work, you start explaining everything. This is how I work. This is what we will do together. This is what our process looks like. But your prospect hasn't really moved into a decision making stage. Notice what's happening. You are giving them more information, but you're not guiding how they think. So they're listening, they're engaged, but they're still window shopping. They're weighing it up, they're comparing with all the other solutions that they have because they are not even close to buying. So sorry, but not sorry. While you are telling them more and more about the features or benefits, they're just weighing the costs in their head. They're not even sure if they'll buy right now, or maybe they'll figure it out on their own or through a cheaper option. More information is only clouding their decision making. Focus on helping them make a buying decision first. Then your features come in later, after they are ready to buy. Now, the third most common flaw that I see is that every call feels slightly different. Do you feel like that? You will just hop onto the call and you will see how the person rolls and then you will roll along? This is one of the biggest things most people don't realize. If your call flow changes based on the person or the day, then that's why your sales calls are not converting. Because if your calls are running one way for one person, another way for another person, you're responding really to what they are saying, then you are not being a leader in the conversation. You're not guiding their decisions. To you, it might feel like you're being really flexible and thoughtful, but there is no clear direction that is helping your prospects make a purchase decision. And that's why your calls are not actually converting. I'll say this really directly. It's not about being more confident or having a better rapport, because all of these things help. But what really helps get the sale is when your prospect sees that they have a problem and they trust you that you can help them solve it. So, right now, if your calls are designed to have a really good conversation, but the prospects don't understand their problem, it's not about you, it's about them. If they're not understanding their problem or the value that you provide to them, then you're just leaving money on the table. But once you see that the sales calls are really about clarifying the problem and establishing trust with your prospect, then everything shifts. Because then you stop trying to explain more, you start slowing down at the right moments. And with that, they get clearer on their problem. They get clearer on the real problem underneath the problem and what needs to change and why they cannot just read another blog and get that help. And suddenly, people don't respond by saying, well, I need to think about it, but they are ready to make a purchase right on the call. So there you have it. The big three reasons of why your sales calls are not closing. First, you are not diving into the real problem. Even if you get it, your prospect hasn't understood it, and so they have no reason to buy. Second, you're explaining the features and the benefits, but for them, they don't even have a burning problem yet. So, effectively, you're just giving them information, but you're not helping them decide. And the third, if your calls are flowing as per the client, then you are not being seen as the authority, as someone who can solve their problem for them. You haven't established that trust for them to be willing to invest. Now, for you, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, yeah, this is exactly what's happening on my calls, then the best thing that you can do is book a sales audit with me at artoflifecenter.com/sales. You can share a recent call recording or walk me through what you are doing, and I'll show you exactly where your conversation is dropping so that you can have more sales.